All right, everybody, another special guest on with me today. I have Dr. Kelli Ritter. If you guys haven't checked out her channel, her YouTube channel, I highly recommend. It is super educational. I've learned a lot from Dr. Kelli. Dr. Kelli, where can we find you on YouTube? I'm just going to start with the plug today
I
instead of end,
appreciate
end with
that,
it.
Scott. Yeah, it's just Dr. Kelli Ritter. So,
Dr. Kelli Ritter.
yep. And it's
Yeah.
Kelly with an I. So people, always forget that people don't know how to spell my name. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
So do yourselves a huge favor and sub her channel immediately. So, Kelli, I really want to bring you on today because we have some really important topics to cover. And I feel like I could really relate to your story and some of the things you've gone through. But maybe you could just start by introducing yourself a little bit, just your background, and we'll get into your story after.
Great. That sounds good. So I have a background in clinical mental health counseling. So I got a master's, an EDS, a PhD, all of that in counseling, and was rocking around doing my thing as an associate professor. And my father was diagnosed with cancer, pancreatic cancer, in 2009, I want to say. So I started studying gut health. I started trying to help him, and it landed me in understanding gut health and nutrition. And then I just started on this journey, and everything I wanted him to do that he really wouldn't do, I did. So all kinds of healing modalities, I tried everything, and a lot of things were really helpful to me. So I just kind of kept going on this path of healing. And I really like interesting new ways of looking at things. And so I ended up learning about quantum biology and healing on a cellular level. And that's been really exciting. And I feel like that's what's missing in a lot of these different wellness spaces. So you've got, particularly in clinical mental health, we just didn't know about quantum biology. We didn't learn about that. We didn't learn about nutrition and how important food is for your mood. So that's what I love to do.
Yeah. So, just for people that maybe don't know about quantum biology, can you just give us a quick explanation as to what that is exactly?
Yeah, because I'm not a quantum physicist. Like, this is not I was in this world trying to figure it out myself. And it's really these subatomic particles, the smallest of things. So quantum is the smallest of things, but from a biology, like inside the body. So we're talking about electrons, photons of light, phonons of sound, these really tiny subatomic particles, and why they're important for the whole picture, because we are really electrical beings first. We do have chemical reactions. And I think that the old paradigm of looking at health is thinking about us as chemical beings and all these chemical reactions, when quantum biology says we're actually electrical beings first. So the electrical charge in us is what's driving our health or our
Such an
dysfunction,
interest. Yeah,
right?
it's something that I've sort of dived into a little bit recently since having Dr. Sarah Pugh on my channel.
Oh
And
yeah, I
it's
love Sarah.
yeah, and it's such an interesting field of study.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your story and your background? I know you've had some share of health issues yourself, and I'm just,
Yeah.
interested in hearing about that.
Yeah. Because I think there's some similarity. You and I have some histamine. We're just histamine people. So I feel like I started my healing journey probably in the womb. So I just think from the get-go, my life has been about trying to feel good and not feeling very good. And so I was never sick enough as a child for anybody to really figure out what to do with me. I had a lot of allergies, a lot of skin issues, eczema, lots of stomach problems, GI stuff, but not enough. Like, I just did what everybody else did. You just move along. I was able to, I was in ballet and dance and went to school, but I never felt good. So I think in my 20s, I want to say I started really getting into fitness, more like nutrition and fitness. So I've always been in that kind of space, understanding fitness. And then in my clinical mental health counseling training, I got really interested in trauma and healing trauma and the brain, and really focused on what heals the brain. And, all of that was helpful. I've done all of it. I was a therapist that believes you should have a good therapist. And so I do all my own deep work, psychological work too, with a therapist, not just helping other people. Right. And so and then when my son, I think what really brought it to a head was in January of 2021, my youngest son started having all of these health issues. So he had surgery on his shoulder, and then he got COVID a few weeks later, and he just was not right. He still hasn't been right since. So I started studying, mast cell activation syndrome. He really matched that, but he had a lot of stuff going on with the nervous system and the immune system. And for me, I was fascinated with the mast cells are literally the bridge, not figuratively, literally the bridge between the nervous system and the immune system. So it made sense to me that we had to calm his system down. And just like with my dad, everything I learned, I wanted him to try, like red light therapy and some different nutritional stuff and cold plunging and all the stuff that he just really didn't want to do. I did. And I was amazed. I thought I had a huge benefit from going carnivore. So I'm sure we'll probably talk a little bit about that. And I'd already healed a lot, done a lot of healing on my gut, then did carnivore and had even more healing. So I thought I was in pretty good shape until I started doing all of the things to help my mitochondria and all the quantum health techniques and strategies. And I was blown away. Like, my sleep has always been pretty good. I'm lucky that way. My sleep is even better. I wake up really energized every day, ready to go. And it can be a horrible day, like a shit hitting the fan all over the place, just with my son, just with his health and stuff. And I go to bed feeling really discouraged, and I wake up ready to go, energized. I mean, I really can't believe it. So that's where we are now. We are still working on his health. And then I do all of the things. The quantum strategies are probably the most powerful thing I've ever done.
Okay. So how does mast cell activation and mitochondrial health, how do you bridge those together using the quantum space for healing? Because it seems like you're sort of working on all three, and I'm sort of interested how you're bridging them all together.
That's interesting, because I don't think I've thought about it quite like that, about bridging them all together. But what I have learned is that healthy mitochondria drive health, and dysfunctional mitochondria drive disease. And it can show up in all kinds of ways, but it's going to show up as inflammation. So because of these reactive oxygen species, which are really just electrons that are getting kicked out and lost electrons. And that's all mitochondrial health. So your mitochondria, we know, they're usually thought of the powerhouse of the cell, right? But they do so much more than that. So when your mitochondria are healthy, they're kind of tight, and they move electrons through the body. That's their job. And so they'll move these electrons, and they're kind of tight, and when they're healthy, the electrons can just jump from step to step, and then the mitochondria can do what it's supposed to do. When we have dysfunctional mitochondria, because of usually lifestyle, really, it's our lifestyle and not taking good care of ourselves. But we think, even when we think we're taking good care of ourselves, we're not in nature, and we're not in harmony with our environment, our natural environment of where our feet are currently planted. Then our mitochondria get really dysfunctional, and the electrons can't jump. And so we get lost electrons. That is reactive oxygen species. That is going to kick up. That is inflammation. So for me, when you've got a lot of that going on, then your immune system is going to be reactive. Your nervous system is going to be reactive. And so to me, that's how mast cells are saying, we're not good. This is not helpful.
Right.
Something's on fire.
All that inflammation and the cytokine storms and all that stuff you have to contend with. you have to contend with dysfunctional mitochondria. Is that correct?
Yes, that's exactly right. So when we heal our mitochondria, everything seems to get a lot calmer, in the body. Like you're not on fire anymore. But I will say that for me, I believe that a cytokine storm is as much a spiritual problem as it is a physical issue. So you're having a physical thing going on. But I believe, I know this is kind of weird, but I believe that it's the self, the small s self, our human self isn't recognizing big S self. There's some kind of mismatch there where, and I think what makes sense to me from a quantum perspective is we've just gotten so out of touch with our natural environment, and we spent years and years and years thinking that was fine. Everybody does it. We work indoors, we live indoors, we're very comfy indoors.
We do this.
What?
We do this.
Yeah, we do this, which I love that we get to
Yeah.
do this. But as soon as we're done with this, making sure that we get outside, or we have my grounding mat's actually over there, but normally I have it under me while we're doing this. But we do things to help protect our mitochondria, support our circadian rhythms, so that your body doesn't have to be on fire. Your mast cells can calm down. And but I think it's as much a spiritual issue as it is a physical problem.
Do you think it's a problem of like the soul and trauma and dealing with, chronic stress and it's like you say, we live in it's like we don't even know what living naturally means anymore. We think living naturally is just what everybody else is doing, right? We're kind of very sheepish in our routines and rituals that we do as humans together, right? We think just being in front of a computer screen, maybe getting outside for 10 minutes a day, is good. But we're so out of touch with what we're supposed to be doing naturally. Do you think that is kind of the disease state that we're living in as humans? Our souls have just been crushed and we're just so removed from nature.
I think that has a lot to do with it, right?
Yeah.
I think, it makes sense to me. And I thought I'm not an outdoorsy kind of person, but I thought I was pretty healthy. And I just did not realize how out of sync we are with our what we're supposed to be doing as humans living in. We are part of nature. We are not separate from it. And we act like we're separate. And we eat, and the things that we're told. I mean, I went and got another certification. I went back to school to become a nutritional therapist, and I loved it. I loved what I was learning. But we were learning, fruits and vegetables, and that actually isn't very helpful for the human body. They're full of anti-nutrients, and I'm not an anti-plant person, but I just can't even believe how much better people can feel when they understand eating for your mitochondria means that you're eating seasonally. You're eating only what is available in your area seasonally, because that tells your mitochondria, your body is constantly, you probably learned this from Dr. Sarah Pugh too, your body's constantly trying to orient itself to the time and space that it's in so that it can make the hormones it needs to make, so it can make the neurotransmitters that it's supposed to make and know when to release them. So a lot of that has to do with light, the light outside, but some of that also has to do with the food. So eating foods out of packages or that's out of season is just confusing to the mitochondria. And then we wonder why we're so confused, why we're so out of sync. And I think that it sounds kind of complicated, but it's actually really simple.
Yeah. And I think some people are always looking for a very complicated answer, but really I found that healing really could be a lot more simplified than the people think. And sometimes, overcomplicate things to get it further away from healing. But, it's funny that speaking about that, I was just thinking the other day that how I've always been so careful about not eating sort of conventionally raised animals, and I always say, look, if you can't afford regenerative raised, animals or whatever. I mean, that's fine. I get that, teach their own. But I was always so scared. I was like, oh, I don't want, cows that are inside feeding on, like they have these crop practices where they feed them grass on these cement slabs inside, and
Right.
chickens who are caged. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm so scared of these animals for being inside and being caged and thinking that they're diseased animals. But I'm like, I'm the diseased animal. I spend most of my day on my computer inside. What makes me any different than those animals, right? This is not part of my nature, right? This is not how I should be living. So I think when I came to that realization, I'm like, okay, something's got to give here. No wonder why I'm not healing. Some things have to change,
Right.
So
Good
sorry,
point, Scott.
I'm
Really good
just
point.
I'm not speaking as a quantum biologist here. I'm just speaking as total layman's terms.
Yeah.
But so what are some ways that we could improve our mitochondrial health through the mechanisms that you speak of through quantum biology? What hacks can we do, or what do you just suggest on that front?
Get your light right. I think, number one is to get your light right. And that takes a little bit of time, but it's not hard. So getting outside as much as you can for light breaks, how people used to always people still do take smoke breaks. Just go outside, get natural light. And for people who wear glasses or no glasses, no sunglasses. So pop outside.
Even these glasses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Totally off. Okay.
Yeah, because there are sensors in the eye, and our retina is quantumly entangled with our sun. Like no organism on the planet would be here, could live without the sun. So in order to thrive, we have to have exposure to daylight, to our light environment. So, and the dark is important too. I want to point that out. But the place to start, I think, is I always tell people first thing, as soon as you get up, go straight outside. I don't care if it's snowing or raining or what. It doesn't have to be a sunny, gorgeous day, even though we're lucky. You and I live where it's sunny and gorgeous most of the time, but it doesn't have to be gorgeous. But just go pop outside. If you can spend a minute out there. If you can spend longer out there. And then work your way to getting out for sunrise and for sunset. And you prime your body. You don't want to go out in the middle of the day at noon in Florida in the summer and start there, because, you can, but you don't want to stay long if you do that, because you're not priming your body. You want to get out for the early morning light, and the evening light has the full spectrum that we're trying to get. And so those are going to be cues to your body to pack away, like in the morning, packing away your melatonin, bringing on cortisol so that you can actually have energy for your day, when to make serotonin. So for mental health, I tell people to get out about an hour after sunrise is UVA. So UVA light is available about an hour after sunrise and an hour before sunset. So this is what you're trying to do. You're trying to get outside more. You're timing it. You're priming your body to get out more and more towards the middle of the day for when UVB light is available. We have UVB light all year round, but other places don't. But it's still important, even if it's in winter, to take breaks outside and get the light that's outside. You can crack a window if you work indoors. If you're able to just crack a window, the light will come in. If you're driving, crack the window, open the sunroof, whatever you can do to get more of that light without sunglasses. So even if you have to put on your sunglasses for, part of it, at least for part of it, take off your sunglasses. That we have sensors in our skin and in our eyes. So that's what's really important. And I think that's the best place to start, is with doing that. And then getting protective about dark. So dimming the lights at night, getting red light bulbs or incandescent bulbs so that everything gets dimmer, and wearing blue blockers if you can in the evening. So after sunset, wearing orange blue blockers if you're going to be on devices or on TV or whatever you're doing.
Okay. So what about red light therapy? Where does that come? Where's that? Because we've seen a huge emergence of popularity with red light therapy, I'd say in the last few years or so. And is what sort of time and place should we be using red light therapy? Is it essential for,
No,
okay.
it's not essential, but I'll tell you what happened to me. So red light is available outside. Red light is part of the visible light. So from dawn to dusk, every single day, all year round, no matter where you are, you can get red light for free outside. And that red light is anti-inflammatory. The blue light is inflammatory. So outdoors, that's not a problem because it's balanced. The problem is we are all on devices that have that spike in the blue light. And so it's telling your brain that it is, the middle of summer, the middle of the day in summer, when it might, if it's not, that's a problem, right? So red light therapy, though, I love red light therapy. The panels, I think, are worth the investment if you've got a lot of inflammation that you're trying to reduce. So if you've got, GI issues, mental health issues, histamine, mast cells, any of these, chronic inflammation, which I don't know a lot of people who don't have that, right? Red light therapy can be really helpful. So mine is in my closet. So when I'm getting dressed or undressed, I can do a few minutes and have that panel in there. What happened for me, I bought it for my son, thinking that might help for him. He used it minimally, right? He just, I kept having to say red light. So he would do a little bit and found, I don't know that anything has been hugely helpful for him, right? But I started using it. I could not believe how much it helped my energy. And when I'm in front of the red light, I swear to you, I have the best ideas that I ever have. So if I'm having a rough day where I'm like, or if I have a project I need to get done and I'm having a hard time, like pulling my thoughts together, I go sit in front of that red light for just a couple minutes, and it really seems to sort things. The other piece is those red light panels. You can get red light panels that have near infrared light, which is not visible. It's part of the invisible to us spectrum. That is very helpful and very healing. And there's some really cool research that on the abdomen, so again, you could get it outside, but you've got to expose your abdomen outside so that light can be exposed to our skin and our bellies. That diversifies the microbiome. So when we're talking about gut health, I think the piece that people are missing is how important the light is and that our food matches the environment that we're in. So if you're going to eat produce, make sure that it's local so that the light and the photons that are in all of the food that you're eating make sense to your mitochondria. But that's another way we can diversify the microbiome is with the near infrared light.
Yeah, I find it amazing, just personal anecdote. I start eating outside most of the time. And I actually find that my digestion's better when I'm like sitting in the sun eating. I thought maybe it's because I was feeling just more rested, just sitting outside instead of like eating at my desk. But maybe there's a lot more to it than I thought there was. I saw a study recently actually about red light, how I'm not sure if this was done on humans or animals, but how it improved leaky gut, how it they did it for 2 weeks straight every day or something like that, and improved the mucosal barrier. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, the gut lining, which is really fascinating. Again, you can get it for free outside, right? The same thing will happen if you're really spending a lot of time outside. But leaky gut is a circadian rhythms issue. So that's the piece I've been teaching gut health since 2016, and I just did not put that together until this year. It's not taught. Nobody really understands that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely not. And one thing that we really get into in our group is talking about the gut brain connection as well. And everyone's so focused on the gut that they just ignore everything else, right? They're always taking like herbs or antibiotics or all focused on diet, and everything else kind of gets ignored there. So light, the quantum biology space is so interesting as a healing tool. Can we talk a little bit about grounding as well? Because I know it's something you've spoken a lot about in your videos. How does grounding work, and how does that work in terms of improving our inflammation and health?
Yeah, it's amazing. So I call it earthing because either way, grounding, earthing, it's the same thing. But in counseling, we call grounding something else. So in trauma work, we help people get real present. Probably a lot of the work that you do in helping people with the limbic system, right, is to help people get present and aware in their current, in this moment. And so that's what we call grounding. But in quantum health, in the quantum health space, what we mean by grounding and earthing is actually physically having skin touch Earth's surface. And it can be a tree or a bush or something that's planted too. It doesn't actually have to be the ground. But walking around barefoot is generally how we think of earthing and grounding, but you can use your hands. It's any skin. When we touch, our skin touches the Earth's surface. First of all, it's that nature sends safety signals to our body. So it's really helpful for people with mast cell activation, immune system issues, all of that. We're getting safety signals. But the reason I think it's so fascinating is because we absorb electrons through our skin from the Earth's surface, and those electrons are available all the time in the Earth's surface. We were made to be walking around outside all the time. We slept on the ground. We did everything outside. And so we evolved that way. And it's a really helpful tool in reducing inflammation, reducing pain, and increasing energy. Because what do your mitochondria need? They need electrons. You're not going to get all of that from food, some of the electrons from food, but we can get electrons other ways. And that's really what's fascinating.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you have an earthing mat as well. How does that work?
Yeah, the grounding mat. So you plug it in and it uses the grounding cord in your electrical outlet to ground you. So in my opinion, it's not as fabulous as being outside, but it's a great biohack for if you have to be inside all the time, or when I'm traveling, I have one that's small that I can travel with that and plug it in. So it comes with a tester and you plug that thing in and it just makes sure that the outlet is grounded. So you're not doing it for nothing. And I was worried. I was like, well, will it shock you? Will it hurt you? It doesn't hurt you if it's not, but it won't work. So you use that and then make sure that it's grounded. And then you can there are sheets and there are all kinds of things, grounding, earthing supplies that you can get if you have to live all your life inside.
Yeah. And speaking also about, I guess, for the electrons, like what about electromagnetic fields like EMFs, like how that plays a role? Because I've done some research showing that it really sort of upregulates these mast cells and causes more inflammation. Do you think that EMF is a big problem for us, or do you think that we've kind of adapted to that, or what are your thoughts on that?
I know, because there's really two camps about that, right? There are the people who believe really non-native. So we're not talking about natural native EMFs. We're talking about all the non-native that we've got devices on us all the time. And I think that that's a problem. I see that that's creating more inflammation in people. I have never in my life seen anxiety as high as it is in people. And everybody's walking around with earbuds and a phone on them. We're on our bodies. We're in front of screens all the time. I think that is creating a problem for us. Now, if we're doing all of the other things to help mitigate that, and we're really healthy people and our mitochondria are healthy, maybe it doesn't matter for some people. I don't really understand why some people seem to be more protected than others, but those of us that are more sensitive and have some healing to do, why would you add that to a system that is already telling you it's not happy? It's not having a good time here. And I think we're supposed to have a good time here. I mean, not all of it. I think we're made very resiliently on purpose. but I don't think it's supposed to, I don't think we're supposed to feel awful.
I totally agree.
Right.
Totally agree. Another thing that you've also touched on is cold therapy, and I guess sort of like cryotherapy. Now, me being Canadian, I thought I could handle cryotherapy a little bit better than I could. But now that I'm so skinny, I swear to God, I went in there. I said, I'm never doing this again. I don't care how therapeutic it is. I'm not doing this again. I am the type of guy now that I've moved to Florida. I'm a total wimp. I can't stand the cold. So how does cold therapy, cryotherapy, how does that come into play with healing mitochondria?
So it's helpful in reducing inflammation and it's helpful in creating heat. So we create our own heat in our cells when we're cold. So that's why it's helpful. I haven't actually tried cryotherapy. I don't think I could stand it.
Oh,
I do not like to be cold. I've never liked to be cold. I'm not from Canada. And so I'm a real wimp about it. But it's almost addicting when because you get all those happy hormones, like you get a hit. And so when you do a quick cold plunge, which it takes so much effort for me to actually get the ice where it's supposed to be, and I put it and I do the whole thing, and then to only stay in there for a few seconds. But I promise it is helpful if you're trying to heal. But if you hate it, I don't think that's a good idea to keep it. Try it, but if you hate it, I think innately we need to really listen to the things that feel like it's the right timing for us, it's the right approach for us. And there's so many ways to heal that if it doesn't seem right, I say this about carnivore too. If it doesn't resonate with you, don't do it. There are other ways to heal. It's a powerful tool if you want to use it. So is ketosis. Ketosis is a metabolic state. So nutritional ketosis can help you heal quicker and deeper, but you don't have to do it that way. It's just like red light therapy. It is very helpful, but you don't have to do it that way. Same with cold therapy.
So just wrapping up in the quantum space, is there anything else you recommend in that space for I guess sort of reversing mitochondrial damage?
I would also, so I think getting the light right is first. And in relationship to that you're going to be supporting your circadian rhythms. But I just want to say for the people, because I don't think this is talked about in the carnivore, any really nutrition space, the timing of when you eat is also a circadian rhythm signal. So you might have to play with that, especially for people who do fasting or OMAD, one meal a day or whatever kind of is. If you figured out something that works for you, by all means do that. But if it's not quite, if you're just like, this isn't quite getting me where I want to go, your mitochondria might need the signaling of the time of day that you're eating. So eating within an hour of sunrise, really 30 minutes, but sometimes that's unreasonable for people, but eating in the morning and then ending at least by sunset. So sometime before sunset. So sometimes we need to shift that window to help the mitochondria. And I don't think that's talked about.
Yeah.
I think that and earthing, those are the main things.
And fasting, do you think that plays a big role in terms of mitochondrial health as well, or is that
So it can be very
counterintuitive? Yeah.
It is a little bit counterintuitive. So it can be very helpful because it'll kick in autophagy for people, which is how we clean ourselves, right? So that can be helpful, but that can be done in different ways. And so, yeah, I think fasting is a tool, just like carnivore is a tool, everything can be used as a tool for your healing. But I think it's tricky space when you've got your body and your soul is telling you that it's not happy. I don't think it needs more danger signals. I don't think it needs more stress. I think we need to do things that feel more comforting and are safety signals to our body, like being in nature, eating, but eating 3 meals during light hours, like only when it's light outside. Stop eating in the dark. And there are some people who are like, no, that's the time I feel the best and I feel really good and my energy's good. Well, then keep doing what you're doing. And at any point, if you stop feeling good, you might want to make sure that you're eating in the daytime, because we're diurnal beings. Like, that's how we're made. So,
Dr. Kelli, is there any last words you have for us today? Because you're very, very wise, and we're always looking for lessons. I'd love to have you back on like a million times over. If
oh, I'd love it. And you and I need to get together since we're down the street.
Yeah, St. Petersburg. Yeah, we have to have a meetup for
Let's
sure.
do a meetup. We'll go eat some meat or walk the beach or something.
Yeah.
No, I feel like we covered a lot, and I really am grateful for the opportunity. Since I didn't prepare anything, I thought, I'll just see. And it's been really fun to talk to you. I can't wait to get to know you more and what you're doing. And I really appreciate all the work that you're doing and putting it out there to help people, because all we want to live an optimized life. You're right. That's it.
Yeah, ditto. I feel the same way. So you guys, please subscribe to Dr. Kelli Ritter's YouTube channel. Anywhere else we could find you? Instagram?
Oh, yeah. I'd love to connect on Instagram. Yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram. It's Dr._Kelli with a Kelli. I don't know why I roll my eyes. I like the I, but people can't find me because they're looking for the Y. So yeah, Instagram is a great place. And I have my website is nourish-soul.com. So the podcast is the Nourished Soul podcast. All the places where we can connect.
Yeah, I'll link that down below. Kelli, thank you so much again for coming on, and hope to have you on again soon.
Absolutely.